Wax's podcast, talking that shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's podcast, listen to it every Wednesday.
All right, damn, that one ended abruptly. Hey, I don't remember who did that intro to Wax's podcast. I honestly got to say, I don't remember who exactly that jingle was by. I found a folder. You'll be happy to know, you'll be ecstatic to know that I found a folder full of podcast jingles that had every podcast jingle in there. So for the next couple weeks, maybe I'll be pulling out some old ones. But unfortunately, this one just says Folk Wax's podcast intro. If I were to dig deep and look into the old podcasts and go through the hours and hours and hours worth of ramblings and discussions, I'm sure I could find out who it was that sent me that jingle years and years ago. But alas, since the name of the person is not in the name of the WAV file or MP3 file, whichever one that is, it's a WAV file. Now that I import it into my digital audio workstation, because it only operates with WAV files while within the session and you know what I'm saying? If you import a WAV file, it makes it if you import an MP3 file, it makes it a WAV file regardless. Why can I not think of the word that means converts? It was hard for me to think of the word convert. It was hard for me to convert my thought into what the word is. So therefore, I was jumbled, I was flustered, and I was borderline bewildered. You might notice my large vocabulary usage. That might be due to the fact that I just finished watching the vice presidential debate. I didn't watch the whole thing, actually. It's it's Tuesday. What's today's date? Just so for posterity. It's October 4th, 2016. Just now, tonight, there was a debate on television between the two vice presidential candidates that are running underneath of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That is Tim Kaine and Mike Pence. Tim Kaine and Mike Pence. Just by their names alone, I can't even believe that I watched it. I wouldn't have watched it if, it wasn't on in my house. I really don't think I would have watched the vice presidential debate if my roommate wasn't watching it. But alas, I sat down and I got interested in it. I thought the guy with the red tie, who I believe is Tim Kaine, he's definitely the Hillary Clinton one. I thought that he won the debate, even though I only really tuned in for kind of half of it. I was kind of walking in and out, in and off the phone, blah, blah, blah. Just like a modern millennial of America, my attention span has been shortened. But the times that I did tune in, it seemed like that guy knew what he was talking about a little bit more than the other guy. And granted, everybody listening, that might just be due to my opinion. If he was saying more things that happened to be aligned with my opinions, of course, I would probably assume that he won. Anyway, it's Wax's podcast. I have all the jingles. I didn't go back and find out who that folk jingle was by, but I will for the next few episodes be attempting to pull out some jingles that I haven't used in a while. If you want to send your own version of the Wax's podcast jingle, you might even forgot how it went at this point. It's really just a rip-off of a very old commercial, Light Bright. When I was a really, really, really little kid, tiny, tiny kid, when I first started watching television, there was a commercial on television. Light bright, turn on the magic of shining light. And for some reason, the second episode of Wax's podcast, I was blacked out. Maybe not blacked out, but super drunk. And I was thinking of that song. And I said, Wax's podcast. What the fuck? Wax's podcast. God, I almost forgot it. Talking mad shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's podcast. Listen to it every Wednesday. So yes, that was I didn't rip it off. I sampled it. I sampled that melody from an old Light Bright commercial. Maybe I'll get sued. Maybe I'll get sued right now because of what I'm saying. the person who owns Light Bright, who's probably on their deathbed right now, and they need just enough money to get that liver transplant. They need just a little bit more money, and they're saying, how can I get it? How can I get that $1,500 that I desperately need for this liver transplant? Because livers are apparently pretty cheap. I know. I'll see if anybody ever used my theme song. And, he's got, of course, a little nephew or something. A little nephew to him being a 40-year-old man. Who's like, you know what? I'm a fan of this rapper, Uncle Tim Kaine. It's Tim Kaine, vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. He actually was the original writer of the Light Bright theme song, and he is, going against what we just saw on television, where he was just an able-bodied man debating on live television. Just now, that's actually false. What's actually happening is Tim Kaine is in a bed somewhere dying of liver cancer, desperately needing a liver transplant, and wondering how he's going to get it. And he's like, you know what? Maybe somebody used my Light Bright theme song, and his nephew, a 40-year-old man who's a fan of Wax and a fan of Wax's podcast, snitched. He snitches on me and says, you know what? This guy used it. And then, unfortunately, what is going to happen is this guy's going to pay thousands of dollars for the lawyer. And then he's going to say, at the end of the day, I have proof. Episode 121. He fucking admitted it. We have a confession, Your Honor. We have a confession on episode 121, right there at the 6-something minute mark. He said that he sampled, but we say he stole. We say he stole the Light Bright theme song for his podcast jingle. I want to sue him for every dollar that Wax's podcast has made. And unfortunately, while lying on his deathbed, he comes to find out that Wax's podcast has lost money. That over the course of the years that Wax's podcast has been in effect, Wax has actually lost money doing the podcast. And as a result of him being sued, I countersued. Now he owes me the liver that he already had. Do you have one liver? You just have one liver, right? It's not like lungs or kidneys. You just have one. And since he had to give his liver to me, they're like, well, wait a second. How is he going to survive? That's like murder. If you take a man's liver, you're killing him. But it turns out that if you replace it with a bag of Skittles, you'll live for 10 more years. I don't know what I'm talking about, y'all. I really don't know what I'm talking about today. I've been sober. Day 23. Been sober, haven't smoked a cigarette or drank any alcohol, done any drugs or nothing like that. 23 days. So maybe that's why I'm so consistent with the podcast, eh? You might be saying, you know what? When you're sober, you're responsible. You're responsible enough to do the podcast, but what the real truth is this podcast is kind of therapeutic for me, and when I'm sober, I need it. When I'm drinking, my therapy is to drink. And right now, since I'm sober, I need to just talk and let loose some of my thoughts, some of my ideas. Partially for you to hear them and partially for me to just hear it myself. And I was thinking about it. Sobriety, it's like putting glasses on everything. It's like if, when you go and like 2 years ago, I started wearing glasses. My eyesight's not great. It's not the worst. People have worse eyesight than me, but for somebody who spends a pretty good amount of time staring at a computer, my glasses that I wear now, they made a fucking night and day difference for when I'm on the computer. I can live my daily, everyday life without glasses. Some days I don't put my glasses on and I don't even notice that I'm not wearing them until I look at a computer screen. I need to get that LASIK surgery, but if you like to rage and party, if you like to drink alcohol, sobriety is like getting glasses for like all of your senses all of the time. Sight, hearing, vision, feel, That's like your sixth sense, I guess. Not touch. I meant like really touch, but it's like also your what's it called? Your emotions and your soul. Now it's all in 2020 vision, and you know what? You don't always want to see that shit, man. You don't always want to see it. I was also thinking that alcohol, it's like when when somebody's watching a scary movie, like picture like a kid watching a scary movie and it gets to the part that's just like they know it's going to be scary. They know it's going to make them anxious. They know it's going to be full of suspense. And what do? They put their own fucking hands over their eyes so they can't see it. That's what alcohol is to an adult life. The movie is the adult life, and putting alcohol inside yourself is like a little kid that puts his own blinders on when watching a scary movie. Not saying that life is that scary, but damn, it sure is a lot less scary, a lot more comfortable when you can't see it clearly. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel great, feel amazing. But who doesn't like a good beer now and then? Who doesn't like a good little mixed beverage? Been crazy. I never drink mixed beverages. Only drink beer. But when you quit, I've been craving wine. Never drink wine. Been craving whiskey, just straight up. Straight up. I used to order that shit warm. If you want it on ice, I'd be like, microwave it. I used to say that thinking that was cool. Funny. Guess it is funny to a certain extent. But so now here I am doing podcast after podcast. I got a tour coming up. I announced a bunch of tour dates. The Cookout Chronicles tour, Wax and the Palmer Squares with DJ Skits. I just hired a merchandise person today. It's going to be 5 of us on the road. It's going to be a light crew. Light crew, y'all. But it's going to be an awesome show. Awesome show. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to try to make it I'm just going to try to make it dope, man. I asked for suggestions on Facebook of what songs I should play. Look through it all. That's kind of what I based the set list on, With the exception of I'll probably play, not a lot of people requested new stuff. A lot of people did. But I might play 1 or 2 new ones that weren't really requested just because I want to play some new shit for my own fucking sake. And it is the name of the tour. You know what I mean? The name of the tour is named after the new album. But I can assure you I'll be playing mostly old. I'm not going to call them classics. But, if you had to, Wax's greatest hits, 2 in the eyes of his fans, In the eyes of his fans. It's going to be so much fun, man. It's going to be so fun. All the dates are on my Instagram and on my Facebook and on my Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. I'll be doing a lot of promotion. Hopefully people will come to the shows. I have no fucking idea. I haven't toured in over 2 years. I don't even know if people are going to come. I hope you guys come. Please come. Please come to the show. I'm pretty confident that when I play in New York City, there'll be some people at the show. When I play in Philadelphia, when I play in Los Angeles, there'll be some people at the show. Now, when I play in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, there's probably one of 2 things are going to happen. I can't imagine there's that many people in Sioux Falls that are super fans. I'm sure there's some people there that know who I am, and that'll be amazing for people to show up in a city such as Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and know any of the songs and whatnot. But besides that, it'll probably be like nobody shows up, or it'll be like a good amount of people show up because there's not as much stuff to do. Here in Los Angeles, there's so much fucking shit going on. It's such a huge, huge city that on any given night, literally on any given night, you could go see one of 30 comedy shows. You could go see one of at least 50 live music events. If you wanted to go to like a bar, just a bar, there's a gazillion you could go to, approximately a gazillion, maybe a gazillion and one, maybe a gazillion less than one, 1 gazillion 999. I don't know what 1 less than 1 gazillion is. But, you get my point. It's not rocket science. And somewhere like Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I don't even really know exactly how big Sioux Falls is. But there's not going to be that many things total that you can do. I imagine in Sioux Falls on a given night, especially a non-weekend night, I don't know what night I'm playing there. I can't remember if it was a weekend or not, but there's not that much live music going on each night. So maybe if there's something interesting going on, something coming from out of town, maybe some people are interested in going just out of curiosity. So in that case, it's going to be good for me because I'm going to have to step my game up. It's easier to perform in front of crowds that already know you and love you. You can kind of, like, if you play the songs they like, you can't really go wrong unless you fucking say, "Oh, thank you, but fuck Cincinnati though, right?" If unless you say something mean, you can't really go wrong, But if you're in front of a crowd where nobody knows you, you got to prove yourself, and that's the old days. That's the days that's where I come from, dog. I used to do sets like that in front of people that don't know me. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people out here in the internet era who, their first live shows they've ever did, there was 500 people in the 500. There was a sold out venue of 500 people who already knew every song on their album, which was the only songs they had because it was their first album. And, they killed the show. It's hard not to, you know what I mean? It's really hard not to kill it in that environment. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm sounding kind of bitter or whatever. But what else I got going on? Oh, you know what? I wrote down something. What did I write? I wrote down something I wanted to briefly mention on the podcast. Where is this on my fucking notes? First thing, I wrote down two things. One I'll mention briefly because A, I know that a lot of you guys aren't even from the United States. And B, I understand that we're a divided nation. I understand that everybody has their allegiances and opinions and thoughts. But I try to take your political views aside. I can't believe, and it strikes me like once a month, it just strikes me that Donald Trump is running for president. It just strikes me. Like, forget like Republican versus Democrat, forget whatever, everybody that supports Donald Trump, what they really do is they don't support Hillary, and they say, everybody I know that likes Trump doesn't really like him. They just think he's better than Hillary Clinton. But like, just like the shit that he does and the shit that he says and who he is, where he's from. I mean, he's on his third wife. All of his three wives were models. He's he got his money from running casinos. He has several businesses that are basically scams. Casinos included. Casinos are the ultimate legal scam, right? But I heard somebody say he really is like a cartoon version of a rich person. I heard somebody say that. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said he's like the cartoon version. Like he's like a cat. It's fitting that he's like orange and his hair looks like he's a fat cat. He's like Burns. Is it Burns or Smith? Yeah, Burns. He's like Montgomery Burns from The Simpsons. He's the cartoon version of a rich person. He's like what we grew to think of a stereotypical rich person. It's just every once in a while, say what you will about it. I understand somebody who says, in a capitalist economy, obviously he did something right? He's rich. He's a business guy. If that's why you support Trump, I can't really, honestly, like I could say a lot of things about why that doesn't make him really presidents should be selfless, right? They're supposed to serve us, not themselves, But all that aside, what I'm saying is just like it just strikes me every once in a while. I just can't believe that he's actually the guy. I can't believe that he's actually running. And a year ago or whatever, when it was him and 17 other people, a lot of you people that support him you would have said there's no fucking way he'll ever actually be the candidate. His last job was he was a reality show star. And he says crazy shit all the time. He says crazy shit all the time. If anybody else said the shit that he says, they'd be totally screwed. In any past election, if somebody would have made fun of the reporter with cerebral palsy and the way that he did, the election would be over for them. The way that he talks about women, election over for them. But he has made his own lane. You got to give it up for the guy. He's made his own lane in such a crazy way that kind of shit doesn't matter to him. He's bulletproof. And I don't want to talk about the election. I don't want fucking tweets about people telling me, but Hillary did this and blah. I just don't care. What I really want to do is turn my television off. What I really want to do is just not pay attention to it anymore because it doesn't affect my daily life. It's really like watching a soap opera. It's just like it literally is reality television. It doesn't affect my day-to-day life if I don't let it. Like literally. Even if it did, even if there was some kind of changes in taxes that made me pay more or less money, unless I really, really thought about it and made it a point to get mad about the fact that I'm paying more or less money, which is something that you shouldn't really be obsessed with in your life anyway. How much taxes you pay. It's not going to help you to fucking just be mad or be scared. Just being mad and being scared does not help you attain happiness as a person. So really the best thing to do is to just not fucking pay attention. And granted, I take that there's a lot of privilege in me saying that. White and otherwise. There's a lot of privilege in me saying that I don't have to pay attention to shit. But I don't. And I'm going to turn off the fucking TV. And, if you support Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or somebody else, fucking more power to you. I'm just saying I can't fucking believe that Donald Trump is actually a fucking viable candidate that might be the president. It's a fucking bad movie, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy what he is. And the shit that, dude, I fucking retweeted something he tweeted today. Like the motherfucker can't type. Like he said, wow, did you just hear Bill Clinton's statement on how bad Obamacare is? Period. A period after the word is. Not a question mark following the question that he just asked. Wow, did you hear Bill Clinton's statement on how bad Obamacare is? Period. Hillary not happy. As I have been saying, repeal and replace. But he put is then period, which just looks fucked up. Anybody who took any English classes in middle school knows that when you have is then period, it just looks fucked up. Like for somebody who's about to be president to type that, and you can't tell me it's a typo. The period ain't next to the fucking question mark. I know typos when I see them, man. A typo is when you say live instead of love, because I's right next to O. You know what I'm saying? A comma or a period, I get. They're right next to each other. Question mark or period, the comma's in between. That's your fault, and you did it on purpose. That's how it works. But, yeah, what else did I have written here? Let's stop talking about Trump. I don't give a fuck anymore. But, hold up. So last week, first of all, I apologize for even dedicating that much of my podcast to politics. I say that I don't care. I want to not care. I want to be that, like, in so many aspects of my life, man. I want to be, always have wanted to be the person that really doesn't give a fuck. Like really, though. Like the guy that you see in Venice that works at the pizza place. He spends all his money he makes on at the pizza place on weed, skateboard wheels, couple beers. He doesn't become too degenerate of an alcoholic because he doesn't have enough money to buy all the beer. He can only afford a couple tall cans. And then he just fucking shreds. He fucking works at the pizza place. He splits his fucking place, 2-bedroom place with 5 of his bros. And they fucking shred. They go skate and surf and eat pizza. And they fucking stay high. And they mean it. They really don't give a fuck. You think he fucking watched the vice presidential debate between Mike Pence and Tim Kaine? You think he can tell you who the fuck Mike Pence or Tim Kaine are? Of course not. Of course he has no fucking idea. He shreds. And he truly doesn't give a fuck. Whereas me, I wish I was that guy. I wish I didn't give a fuck, but you know what? I do. So that's why I talk about Donald Trump. Anyway, what I wanted to say. Last week, I just wanted to bring up something. Last week I was talking about the place and time that I grew up. Now, this was in Southern Maryland. Keep in mind, it's a place where it's just white people and black people. There's no other types of minorities. There's no other real religions. I'm not saying, when I say no, I mean pretty much. I mean, in a high school of probably 2,000. I was about to say 2,000. I think my graduating class was 500. So if there's 4 of those, it's about 2,000 people in the high school. Maybe 1 Muslim, maybe 10 Asians, maybe there was literally 1 Jewish family. Everybody else is either white Christian or black Christian. At this time in the 90s, like, there was no such thing as there being a vegetarian or much less vegan option at the fucking at the cafeteria. You definitely could not be a vegan. I had never even heard the term vegan back then. They didn't have that fucking term. There was definitely no gay student union. People that were gay, it was very difficult to be gay. Being gay was rough. It was like an openly homophobic time and place. And the reason I even gave you all that background information is because, you know, when I wanted to, I was talking about that last week, and then I thought of something after I recorded the podcast. I thought, you know, when you're a kid and you play, your kids in the neighborhood play sports. You play basketball, you play soccer, you play football, sports. But every sport has, like, you know, you have like the real sport, and then you have like the offshoots of sports that are like the neighborhood sports. Like, for example, oh my God, this one's kind of racist sounding too. You have baseball, but then, like, we had a game called Indian ball. I don't know where the fuck it got that name. I think that we thought that like some kind of Indian tribe made it up. I don't know. We didn't make up the name. It was a game that some people out there, some Americans out there, are like, yeah, of course, Indian ball. I know how to play that. Or games like stickball that are offshoots of baseball. Like the kind, you know, when you play Indian ball, it's like you're in a cul-de-sac type of environment. It's for people who have like a lot of asphalt, I guess. You know, the person at the top of the cul-de-sac drops a tennis ball, it bounces, then you hit the shit out of it with an aluminum baseball bat. And everybody else is the fielder. And whoever retrieves the ball, if you catch it in the air, you're now the batter, and the batter goes out in the field, and then you go and do what he just did. If it bounces first and you catch it, you run until the person places the bat down, and when they place the bat down, you have from wherever they play, you have to stop running whenever they place the bat down, and from there you roll the ball and try to hit the bat. Like, it's almost like a combination of baseball and bowling. God, I haven't thought about this in so fucking long. Point is, Indian ball is an offshoot of baseball. Just like, you know, a better example is the game 21. 21 is an offshoot of basketball. When you don't have a full court, or you don't have an even amount of players to have a half-court game of 2-on-2, even if you do and you just feel like playing every man for himself basketball, you play 21. Most of you guys out there will have heard of 21, I guess. Very simple game. Hold up. Fuck. It's a very it's basically like if there's 4 people and 1 basket, It's every man for himself basketball. One person starts at the line, everybody else tries to get the rebound. The guy misses the foul shot. Whoever gets the rebound, when they put it up, is 2 points. Then you go the foul shot and you shoot to get 1. You can only get 3. If you get 3 in a row, you have to inbound the ball, check, get it back, maybe get 2. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own different rules about taps and stuff like that. Everybody, 21 is one of those games, kind of like Asshole, the card game, where if you go to a different neighborhood, people have like little different rules. But everybody knows what 21 is. Now, when it comes to football, there was also a game that was an offshoot, and it was pretty much every man for himself there, too. It's actually a fucking crazy-ass game. It's not surprising that this was mostly for, like, younger kids. Like, by the time you got to, like, high school, you weren't really playing this game. This is more like elementary and middle school game because it's such a fucking just caveman-style sport. Football's got a lot of rules. But this game doesn't have a lot of rules. Say you got 10 people and one football. Whoever has the football, you attack them. When they fall down, they just fucking throw the ball away or roll the ball out, or somebody steals the ball out of their hands, and whoever that person is that has the ball now, you attack them. Then repeat. And the name of the game, which was not thought of in any kind of fucked up way at the time, the name of the game was Smear the Queer. Yes, that's right. Smear the Queer. As if to replicate what you would do to a quote-unquote queer if you saw them. Smear the Queer. So I guess, I don't know. I mean, there is the argument that the word queer does not only mean gay. The word queer also means just straight up unusual. Back in the day, that's like one of those old school words. Like back in the day, people used to say, yeah, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling merry and gay. I'm feeling so happy and gay, But nobody ever says gay is happy anymore. Back in the day, when they would say gay is happy, they would also say, like, they would look at something that seemed odd or weird and be like, that's queer. That's a queer thing that would happen. Or if you saw like 10 candles and one of them was yellow and the other ones were brown, it'd be like, that'd be the queer one. It's different than the other ones. But that was the game called Smear the Queer. And I say all that shit about the word queer with every bit of, I'm pretty sure that game was named, when that game was named, I'm pretty sure queer was a fucking slur for gay people. And this game was played by fucking 5 to 10-year-olds. And I'm sure that the parents heard us saying the name of the game because we had no idea that it was offensive. No idea. We didn't know. We were just playing Smear the Queer. Tackle whoever has the ball. Smear the Queer. Do what you would do if you have the ball. Pretend that they are a gay person and attack them with all your violent force. That was the name of the game. I will say that it's interesting how times change with words. Like I actually just found out recently that you're not really supposed to say gypped. Like if you say like damn, that was expensive. $20 for that? Man, I really got gypped. The word gypped was made up because it's short for gypsy. So gypped is actually a racially offensive term, just like when you hear somebody say like, oh, they really Jewed me on that. Or damn, I didn't get double helpings of meatballs. I really got Jewed. Or whatever. It's the same thing, except instead of offensive to Jews, it's offensive to gypsies. I didn't know that until recently. And who knows? Who knows what's next? But as a nice guy, I don't feel like I don't have any problem with taking the word gypped out of my vocabulary. I can find another word like Jude. Yeah, I don't know if I'm being offensive or not. I don't really give a fuck at this point. I don't know that I have a lot of gypsy listeners. Any gypsies out there? Any fucking gypsies listen here? I have no idea. I don't know if I know any gypsies. I've definitely seen gypsies in Europe before, I think. I think I saw gypsies at in France or something. I don't know. I think gypsies are more common in Spain and Portugal, and those are two places I've actually never been before. I have been to Mallorca, the Isle, but that was more of a rich place. I don't know if I saw any gypsies there. But if I do have any friends that are gypsies, they haven't made it known. They haven't made it known that they're gypsies to me. If I'm being honest, I don't know much about gypsies. I don't know if they're a religion associated with being a gypsy. Or is it just you have kind of tattered clothes and a lot of crystal balls? You're kind of pirate-like? In my warped, racist, I guess, view from movies, Disney movies of yore, a gypsy is essentially a mix between a pirate and a fortune teller, but also kind of a thief, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to stop there before I'm going to stop there with my racist talk. All right, let's get to some questions and shout-outs. All right. Let's get to some questions and shout-outs. Let's start with the shout-outs, as we always do. Why would I do the questions first, then the shout-outs? I've never, ever done that before on the podcast, and it wouldn't even really make sense. You want the shout-outs to come right when it starts. It's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Do you want it to change? Do you have suggestions or comments or recommendations? Do you want to send a suggestion to my virtual suggestion box? My suggestion inbox. Well, you can send one to beatsforwax@gmail.com. BEATSFORWAX@gmail.com. An email that was started for people to send me beats, but it's hardly ever used for that anymore. And to be honest with you, I don't really get a lot of good beats. People don't send me a lot of good beats. So I just make my own, holler at my boys. And we'll see what happens next. But for now, here's some shout-outs. We got Jay Scott from Long Island. We got Sonny P from Essex, UK. Petey Machete. Daniel from Germany. Tony V. Cash with a K. Sophia M. We got Ian, a.k.a. Izza, who recommends Rhyme Sayers, specifically Prof, Aesop Rock, and Atmosphere. I need to listen to Prof. So many people tell me that I should do stuff with Prof, but I don't know anything about Prof. Gotta listen to his music. I think maybe I've heard something, but I might be getting him confused with somebody else. And of course I've heard Aesop Rock and Atmosphere. They've been out for a long time. Wonder what Rhyme Sayers is doing. Will they sign me and just give me a bunch of money? They probably don't have that much money, right? But maybe they could fucking. All right, we got Puya from Iran. Oh, Puya, thanks for the album review, man. I appreciate the kind words. We got Charlie OC from the UK. And guess what, y'all? I got a bunch of questions. I got like 4 questions, I think. And I'm super caught up on the email. So for real, if you want to send an email, beatsforwax@gmail.com. I'm mad caught up. More caught up than I've ever been. I'm like to like one day ago or something like that. Okay. Hey, Wax, what's good? My name's Himashu, but just call me Heems. Like that rapper no one remembers. I've been listening to you since a bit before Scrub Life and love your music. I'm living/studying in Ottawa, Ontario, so I'm wondering when the fuck you're allowed back in Canada. I need to see you perform before one of us dies. Whoever comes first. Yeah, I mean, it won't really matter who comes first. Either way, you're not going to see me live if you die, and you're not going to see me live if I die. So, and you said stay sober and keep it loopy. Yeah, just wanted as far as the Canada thing, we had some shows. I wanted to do the person booking the tour rather was going to book me in Vancouver. Was going to book me in Toronto. It's going to book me in Montreal. I'm not sure about Ottawa. Not sure about Calgary. Not sure about any other Canadian cities, but I know it's going to be Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. But guess what? Even if I did get back into even if I was allowed to get back into Canada, after the process I would have to go through, the process would take 9 months. So I wasn't able to do it for this tour. And guess what? I didn't start doing it for whenever the next time is either. Because it costs like $4,000 just to hire the lawyer, which is no guarantee that it'll even work afterwards. And you know what? I just didn't feel like doing that right now, even though the stupid part of that is like, realistically, I could probably get that money back pretty soon if I could just do like a tour in Canada. So, you know what? I just thought that out just now on the podcast about how dumb it is for me to not try to do that. So maybe I'll put that on my to-do list. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just be lazy like I always am. I have no fucking idea. I don't have a lot of help, you know. It's really me. It's a one-man show. I'm not one man completely. I got some other people to help me do certain things, but right now, when it comes to something like that, I ain't got nobody I can call. Hey, can you help me out? Hey, can anybody, you know, it's just up to me. And when things are up to me, a lot of shit don't get done, you know. Okay, we got Mike from Long Branch, New Jersey. Yo, Wax. Dude, first off, thanks for shouting out my band, and I'm glad you enjoyed what I sent you. Oh yeah, you guys are dope. The Cookout Chronicles is the shit, one of my favorites so far. Second, thank you, man. Second, I just wanted to say that your last podcast hit me hard, man. I'm glad you made the decision to clean up and made a better life for yourself. My dad was an alcoholic, and a couple years ago back, made the fuck it, I'm swimming decision, and he didn't make it back. I'm really sorry to hear that, man. That sucks. Besides the obvious love and support you probably get from your family and friends, I hope you know how much you mean to your fans. And even though we obviously don't know you, through the honesty in your music and podcast, it feels like we do. So stay strong, man. There are better days ahead. Man, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks so much for that. Third quick question. I've been on a McGregor kick lately and was wondering, is the song Lost and Found a true story? If so, that shit is crazy. Actually, that's not a true story. Strangely enough, that song was written... I was in regular college when I wrote that song, and I was just kind of like, I majored in political science, and there was something about there was a lot of stuff I was doing in class about just moral dilemmas, and I was thinking, you know, just the concept of just finding a wallet. Should you give it back? Should you keep it? Stupid shit like that. I just evolved into that song. It's an old song. Sorry this was long and kind of corny, haha. I understand if you don't read it on the podcast, but just wanted to show some support. I'm looking forward to seeing you on tour. If you're anywhere near New Jersey, I will be there. I'm definitely gonna be in New York City, and there's a chance I might actually be in Jersey. There might be a Jersey date. I'm in Philly. I don't know exactly off the top of my head where Long Branch is. I don't know if that's closer to New York or closer to Philly. But I'll be in both of those places. Philly's my favorite place to perform. I love playing in Philly. I wanted to read this, man. I really appreciate what you're saying in the second part of your email. Sorry to hear about your dad. And there is, you know, when it comes to like alcoholism and addiction in general, one of the big symptoms, one of the things that makes people start becoming an alcoholic, not even just in the fact that they're addicted to alcohol, just addicted to that feeling of escapism, and just that there's something behind that addiction. It's not just like, oh, I want to drink alcohol, because after a little while, the chemicals inside of you are gone. And it's really something that you've trained your brain to be like. And a big part of it is isolation. You know, people that you talk to, maybe your dad included, that really get hard and deep into addiction, whether it's heroin or alcohol. It's not a party. They don't do it socially. As a matter of fact, people such as myself, they drink antisocially. They drink most of the time by themselves. And I bring this up to say that there's a reason why it's so common amongst artistic people. There's a reason why Bukowski and Hemingway, that these people are alcoholics. They spend a lot of time by themselves. They spend a lot of time in their mind. And isolationism is, some people say, the cause of addiction. Not connecting to other people, not living in a communal way. Really being by yourself, not just physically, but just kind of spiritually. And it's funny because even though I've quit drinking, I haven't really fought that. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous attempts to do. And a big part of Alcoholics Anonymous is to be part of a community and to help other people and see the beauty in that. But right now, I was doing the meetings and I just haven't gone in like over a week. And in order for me not to drink, I just kind of don't go anywhere, and I've been living kind of even more solitude-like. That's a horrible word. Solitudinal. Isolationistly, even than before. So it's not surprising that I've been having like strong cravings to try to drink, But yeah, and because of that, and I think I've mentioned before, it's kind of hard to, because of the honesty that I put into the songs and the honesty I put into the podcast or whatever. The podcast is kind of a different thing, but like, when you're in a studio by yourself and just making songs, then you put it out. You don't always get to see that you're affecting people. It's awesome now that you get to get mail and email and comments and stuff, but it's not like a real physical connection that you get. You know what I mean? I think that's part of why you see rappers are a great example. Why people wonder why rappers have these big entourages. There's many reasons for that, but part of it is like, most people that are balanced spiritually, they need to have other people around them. Life is about a community of people and friendships and long-lasting connections that you make with other human beings. That's why a lot of times when you go around in the music industry, like, you see people that whenever they show up somewhere, they got 20 people with them. But then pay attention to some of the people that have problems. Some of the people in the industry that have problems, they're not necessarily having 20 people show up with them. They're the ones that show up by themselves. They're the ones that leave early by themselves because they got somewhere else to be. And that somewhere else might just be fucking at their house by themselves, where they're the most comfortable. Most comfortable by themselves, just getting fucked up. And so I don't know. I don't know how to fix that shit, but I wanted to say that I appreciate it. And I think that one way that I'm going to attempt, and maybe this will work, maybe this won't work, I don't know, but I've been thinking about it and sort of working this idea out in my head recently. I think going forward, after this tour, when I start to work on more music, I'm going to try to think from more of a perspective of giving. Like when I make music, I want to try to come from less of a place of like, how do I feel right now? What literally just happened to me, and how do I feel? And more from like, what do people need to hear? Like what's going to make the world better? What's going to make people happy? What do people want to hear? What's going to bring joy to people? I'm going to try. I don't know if I can do it or not, but I'm going to try to make music and comedy and art more from that perspective than what fucking dark place am I in that I can share with you, because probably some of you are in that place too. You know what I mean? Who knows if that's what'll happen. I'm sure that some darkness will come out too, because I tried to make the Cookout Chronicles all like that too, but I had to put a couple dark joints on there, and kind of more than a couple really if you listen to it. There's darkness and light. A lot of my songs have been like that. There's a lot of darkness. I listen to some of those old songs, like Don't Need. I mean, shit's about, we alcoholics see the beauty and the blurriness. I mean, that's a different song, but it's the same fucking song. It's the same fucking song. Inner Tube and Don't Need are the same fucking song. Just Inner Tube kind of realizes how It's just the same song a couple years down the line. Realizing that shit's not necessarily the answer. It's actually kind of like suicide. Anyway, this next one's from Diana. Diane's word. What up, Wax? This episode was so dope. You didn't come off depressing at all. You managed to take a heavy subject and still make it entertaining. I think this was also about the addiction episode, which I think was 119. So props for that. It was inspiring to hear the inner workings of your experience with all this, because I feel you. I'm in the same place with quitting drinking. I can definitely relate to everything you mentioned, especially the tango and the younger people friends who don't get it, / friends who don't get it. You almost feel this crabs in a bucket mentality, or feel boring if you're the sober one. Yeah, for sure. And people change the way that they if you're not drinking, people will be like, oh, I'll have a Coke. It's like, dog, you can drink. Like, don't change your way for me. Hate being the one that makes everybody else change the way they are. Just like when you're in a place where everybody's speaking a different language, and then they try to speak English just because you're there, and it's clear that you kind of like made it less comfortable for them. It's kind of annoying too. If you have any, if you are not a fucking asshole, And it's even more awesome to hear you talking about doing yoga for anxiety. That's probably what helped me the most, and other healthy habits. I think there's still some weird stigma around guys doing yoga. Maybe not so much in LA anymore, but it's predominantly women. That's true. You're even more of a G in my eyes because of that. I'd also recommend a book called Big Magic. Talks a lot about the suffering we accept as part of the creative process. Where did we learn that creativity comes with pain and self-medication, whatever that may be? It was life-changing to read that. God damn, hold on. Got fucking something in my throat. Where did we learn that creativity comes with pain and self-medication, whatever that may be? It was life-changing to read that we don't create because of alcohol and drugs as a conduit for inspiration, but despite it. Anyway, keep metamorphosizing, young butterfly, sensei voice. It's fucking beautiful, and know that you'll elevate us with you. Mad love and respect. I know that I'm getting, I realize that that was from Diana. I realize that I'm reading some ones that have some sense of corniness and praise of me in a weird way, but maybe I just need the support right now, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys showing the support. I think I need it. And what was I going to respond to? Doing yoga. I did yoga today, actually. And yesterday when I went to yoga class, I literally was the only dude in there. And that's very common. It's a fucking feminine thing, dude. I can't deny that. If you go in there and do the shit, there's no denying that there's a femininity about it. But once you do it a few times, you forget that shit. Plus, it doesn't hurt that there's some fine girls all around you, almost all of which have at least decent lower bodies, even if they're super old. In LA, it's not as much of a weird thing for dudes to do yoga, but I think maybe still in other parts of the country it is. I don't really know. I've been living in California so long now. I don't really know how other people view shit. No idea. But I can tell you one thing. Yoga is helpful to me. It's way fucking... It's not like going to the gym. Like, the gym was helpful, too. Like, the gym... Any kind of physical activity where you sweat and work out, like, makes you feel good afterwards. Like, the runner's high is what they call it. But I think for your brain, the yoga just helps you be calm. Helps you just be more easygoing, you know what I mean? Like, I can't remember if that was before last week. I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast. I got my car towed. This was like Friday or Thursday. I got my fucking car towed. And, normally when shit like that happens to me, I get pissed off, get mad and irritated, think about the money it's going to cost. God damn it. That's my inner voice, how it thinks. But this time I was easy going. I joked around with the parking guy. I joked around with the cops when I went to the police station. Had a great time with the people at the DMV. And no sweat off my back. Sometimes bad shit happens. And that's because of yoga that I'm able to be fucking easygoing like that. And it's a much better way to live. So I appreciate your email, Diana. Appreciate the support. And yeah, this next one. Yo, Wax. Dan the Flan here again. I wanted to get back to you on the situation with my parents. I took your advice. I started to talk to my stepmom in the car about the whole situation. By the way, guys, this is Dan the Flan, who a couple podcasts ago said that he has very religious parents, but he doesn't know that he believes in religion himself. And he actually made a video of him rapping about how he's not sure about that he really wants to be a Christian. It's a younger dude. I think he was like 16 or 18. I can't remember exactly, but churchy family, but he's not feeling the vibes. Family's on the cross, and he's at the crossroads. The family believes in the book. He wants to throw the book at the situation. His family believes in Jesus. The family believes in the resurrection. After 3 days, he's spending his last 3 days wondering what he believes. I don't fucking know. Forget it. I should have stopped at the first one. Anyway, I took your advice. I started to talk to my stepmom. I told him to be honest. Let me start all over. This is Dan the Flan is a young kid who is in the situation that I just mentioned. I guess I read his thing. I told him just to be honest and tell his parents what's up. He said, I took your advice. I started to tell my stepmom in the car about the whole situation. It turns out they saw the video in all caps. She told me they saw it as soon as it came out. I had a long talk with her about it, and we were cool. It was really my dad I was worried about. When he got home from work, I approached him, told him everything, and asked him what he thought. Long story short, he wants me to find out the truth for myself and not feel like I'm being forced to believe something. Me and my parents are totally cool now. I want to thank you for that, Wax. If it weren't for you, I would have never taken that leap with my parents. They took the leap of faith. He took the leap to tell them. He took a quantum leap back in time where thank you. I knew this wasn't really a question, but I felt like I should tell you. P.S. If you read this on the podcast, I would like you to shout out my YouTube channel where that song is. It's called Revolt Rap. One word. I've been working on more music, and more will be released in the future. They think your future's in heaven. He thinks his future's in the record business. He's getting rent on the podcast. They're reading the scripture. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of fucking self-praise. Like, yeah, I fucking do whatever I say and everything goes right, huh? Dan? A lot of self-praise on this podcast. But hey, what are you going to do? He's praising himself. They're praising his name. They're praising the Lord. He's praising himself. Isn't fucking Donald Trump kind of like the exact opposite of Jesus? He's pretty much the exact opposite. So it's kind of weird to me that the Christian right are with him. I don't know. Shouldn't have watched the debate before doing the podcast. I apologize for all the fucking political talk, but hey. I guess I really just don't want Trump supporters to be like, you know what? I heard a podcast episode 121, and guess what, Wax? I'm not going to your show at Sioux Falls, South Dakota at Big's Bar. Guess what, Wax? I'm a proud supporter of Trump, and I live in Bozeman, Montana. And you know where I'll be on November or whatever the fuck night you're playing at the Zebra Cocktail Lounge? I'll be at the fucking bar down the street, the Gators Sports Bar. I'll be at Giraffe's Martini Lounge, thank you. Not enjoying your fucking music because of your bullshit political views. Anyway, I guess that's it for the podcast. Guess that next week I'll come back at you with another episode. That's what I do now. I do weekly podcasts for my own good and for the good of humanity. So with that said, that being that this podcast is for the good of humanity, be safe out there.